Coming up on another solo show adventure.
We had the misfortune of being on like the fourth or fifth cruise, and what that ultimately entailed was no merchandise was available. Everything that said Galactic Star Cruiser or Halcyon was sold out. They had kind of overpromised, like, hey, when we get it back in, it's going to be on Shop Disney, and you'll get a message that lets you know like it's your exclusive time to shop, so you will be able to get your thing. That never happened. Never ever happened.
They say the sequel is never as good as the original. We say when it's a trip around the world to all the Disney theme parks on a private jet. Are you kidding me? We welcome Alex Reif back to the Solo Studios for part 2 of the trip report of the adventure of a lifetime. The Solo Show, as always, is brought to you by Victor Naraki Realtor, serving Disney and the greater Orlando area with celebratingflorida.com and disneyatyourdoorstep.com. Realtor Victor Naraki makes living near Walt Disney World a reality, specializing in all the communities surrounding Disney. Whether you're looking to relocate or invest in a new property, maybe you want a vacation home for your retirement. With over a decade of experience in the area, Victor will adapt to your needs, help you find the right property, or get you the best price for your property. Reach out to him today on his website, celebratingflorida.com, or at disneyatyourdoorstep.com. Follow him at Victor Naraki Realtor on Facebook, and don't forget to tell him that the Solo Show sent you.
Thrills and chills, suspense and drama. It will become a part of you. It will become a part of your day. It's the Solo Show Podcast. On this edition, we feature the Disney parks around the world, a private jet adventure. Alex Reif from laughingplace.com joins Stan in the Solo Studios to talk about the adventure of a lifetime. And now, please welcome your host, that Oscar-winning rabbit, here's Stan Solo.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Solo Show. I am Stan Solo as always, and joining me today in the Solo Studios, he's back baby, Alex Reif, and we're going to do part 2 of the Disney parks around the world, a private jet adventure. Be sure to check out laughingplace.com where you can find out more of Alex's adventures in the world trip that he just took. And as I say, let's get right down to business. The airline, the Icelandic Air, the crew, what did they do while you guys were touring? Were they with you, or did they do their own thing?
They weren't necessarily with us, except they were, when we were at the Taj Mahal, we saw them at the Taj Mahal. And so yeah, they could have done whatever they wanted to. I don't think the trip was necessarily paying for them to have theme park tickets, so I never saw them in a theme park. Okay. Although, we would talk to them about, what are your plans? So while we were in Tokyo, they were talking about taking the Shinkansen, the high-speed rail, down to Kyoto, which, if you're in Japan and you want that kind of old world Japan feel and see people on the streets in kimonos and things like that, Kyoto is kind of like the major place to go for that. So they had talked about that. I don't know if they actually did, but they were really cool about surprising us with amended versions of the safety spiel, because obviously, they have to give it, but we've already seen it and we know the drill. And so they would try and keep it fun. So after Tokyo, they were wearing Mickey gloves, which was hilarious to see them try and, put the buckle together with their fingers bound. One of the times they did it as a dance to Under the Sea. They had some of our guests do it, step in and do it. They had some of our adventures guides do it. One time they got a captain to do it, and I don't think it was an accident, but it seemed like he surprised the crew with it. When you pull the cord on the inflatable, the life preserver, he actually did it. And it did make a big sound, and it was really
quick?
Funny.
Is it like
yeah? Oh yeah, instant. It was just, it was you just heard this and all of a sudden it was there, and he was then very constricted in his motions. So then he was trying to demonstrate the blow it yourself, and he couldn't get the thing to his chin because it was too far over. Yeah, it was really funny. It was great. They were wonderful. And they really took excellent care of us. And at the end, when it was time to say goodbye to them in Paris, when we were getting off the plane, people were hugging them.
Yeah,
it was cool.
I could see that. Becky Klein from the Walt Disney Archives, she's amazing. She gave presentations on the flights. How was that? That must have been amazing because basically tell us what she did on the flights.
Yeah. So one of the things that was a shame is the in-flight system. Her intention was, as we were traveling to Alaska and then Tokyo, her intention was to play the old People and Places film series. For anyone who doesn't know, it was kind of a sister companion series to the True Life Adventures. But these ones were about people. So they had done a couple films on Alaska, a couple about Japan, a couple about China, India. So like she had gotten permission from the studio to screen these. They've never been released on DVD or VHS. They were shown on Disney Channel like in the 80s and 90s, particularly late night during the Vault Disney programming block. But they really hadn't
probably on YouTube.
Yeah. So you can see some of them on
are.
YouTube. And admittedly, you know, she gave the caveat of like these were made in the 50s and 60s, so they're made with those sensibilities of other cultures. So, you know, prepare yourselves for some things that you wouldn't see today. But unfortunately, as she started to try and play the first one about Alaska, the audio wouldn't work, and it was revealed that like the system just wouldn't be able to broadcast audio, so she had to kind of change on the fly and scrap some of those plans. But like on our way to Alaska, obviously the first True Life adventure was Seal Island, which was filmed in Alaska. What a lot of people didn't know, it was news to me, was originally Walt was planning a whole Alaska package feature like Saludos Amigos, basically an Alaska equivalent of Saludos Amigos. It was going to have animated pieces. Some of those did get produced as individual shorts. It was going to have live action segments, one about seals, one about the indigenous people that we know of as, or knew of as, Eskimos. I think they don't like that word anymore. And you know, all of these kinds of things. So fragments of that ended up being released individually. One of them, you know, everyone kind of knows Seal Island, which won an Academy Award and kicked off the True Life Adventure series, which then inspired Adventureland, which then inspired Animal Kingdom. But this People and Places series is kind of a forgotten piece of Disney history. So that was her intention as we were on our way. She then had to pivot and change things. So she would find ways to tailor it to like the park or the place we were going to. A lot of the times that was through like New York World's Fair. So as we were on our way to Hong Kong, for example, Disney had planned a pavilion at the World's Fair that never got done for Coca-Cola. Obviously, they did Small World for Pepsi. For Coca-Cola, they were going to do a different variation of the Enchanted Tiki Room, and Coca-Cola had even started building their pavilion with this show in mind, but things got delayed so much that by the time it actually came to it, Coke decided we're just going to go our own route. And so she showed what Coke actually did, and it was a walking exhibit of cities around the world, and kind of like Club Cool, you could sample Coke products that were unique to those places. So that whole experience started with Hong Kong. Like you were walking the streets of Hong Kong, you know, in an indoor enclosed exhibit. So that was kind of how she tailored a presentation to Hong Kong Disneyland, the destination, on the fly when her original plans had to be changed. So I gave her major credit for being able to kind of pivot. Some of the presentations were things that I had seen before at either like a D23 Expo or a Destination D23 event. For example, one of them that she did was the Mickey Mouse Club Circus at Disneyland, which tied into when we went to try Circle D in Orlando and got to see the Calliope, which was originally purchased as part of a whole set of wagons that were going to be used in that circus. Then they were in Toby Tyler, and eventually I grew up in Wisconsin, so I'm always proud of the Disney fact of like Baraboo, Wisconsin has a circus museum, and Walt Disney donated all but the Calliope to them. So they have all the rest of those Toby Tyler, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, not Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, Mickey Mouse Club Circus wagons in Baraboo, Wisconsin, if you're in the Midwest and looking for a Disney thing to do.
But she's amazing. I could just sit and listen to her talk all day. Like I've seen her at D23 Expo talk and that, and she's so interesting.
And the other benefit of being on this trip was she's on the trip. Like when we have our dinners, you know, if sometimes it was like assigned seating, sometimes it was sit wherever you want. So if people wanted to pick Becky's brain over a meal, you had that opportunity.
I'd be right beside her every day.
Right. Yeah.
Let me ask you about the archives. Is it really like the Indiana Jones? Is it the ending of Indiana Jones?
Do you actually have the Grail? Like,
yeah.
Do you have the Ark? Can we open it up and see what happens? I'll take my chance.
In the blog, you mentioned Dumbo and the Carousel being the only two attractions that are in every park in the world. I didn't know that. I actually had to do some research because I thought I could have sworn Small World was, but no, it's not in the
Shanghai.
It's not in Shanghai.
Yeah, they went rogue. Yeah, it is weird what is and isn't everywhere. So those are the two that you can guarantee on. And obviously there are other carousels in other parks. Tokyo Disney Sea has an Arabian carousel. Disney California Adventures got Jesse's Critter Carousel. But yeah, we focused on, in a Disneyland style park, there's a Dumbo everywhere and a carousel everywhere, and we made a point to ride them in each park. And one of the really magical moments that was unexpected, because those, except at Disney World, those aren't fast pass adjacent rides, no lightning lane or premier access or anything like that. So you kind of just, we would try and go during free time as early in the morning as possible to try and, reduce the wait time for them. We did the Fantasia Carousel in Shanghai, and we get off it, and this manager who, didn't speak much English, but he saw us, and he came up to us and he was like, "Dumbo?" We were like, "Yeah, like that's where we're going next." And so he walked us over and basically backdoored us onto Dumbo, which was one of those things, like, I don't know how I don't think he knew. I think he just assumed, these are two American guys, they're here at Shanghai. If they're doing the carousel, odds are they'll also do Dumbo. If they're into attractions of this, a ticket level. And so it was really nice of him to do that. And that was like a truly organic magic moment that came out of it that we were blown away by. And we wrote like a little comment card for him.
Oh, beautiful. So which park has the best Dumbo and which park has the best carousel, in your opinion?
Oh gosh, that is so tough. So I loved Shanghai's just because it's Fantasia themed. It's all of the Pastoral Symphony horses, and there's even the babies on the like inner rings of the carousel. However, that one is in front of the castle, and you can't see the castle from it because of all the trees. They made it this really beautiful green space, but from the carousel itself, you don't get to see the castle. I think the most beautiful carousel that they have in the like Fantasyland courtyard is Paris's, which is weird because it's the only one that is not Disney themed at all. It's Sir Lancelot as the theming. I don't know of a Disney Sir Lancelot thing other than like a tertiary character, maybe in like A Kid in King Arthur's Court. But like all of the horses on that carousel are very medieval. They've got these like metallic paint finishes that were really cool. And obviously Sleeping Beauty Castle at Disneyland Paris is an incredible sight to see. Yeah. So, that one, I think for both the visual aesthetic of the carousel plus the sights you see as you spin around would be my pick for the top carousel. Dumbo's a little harder to gauge. The worst Dumbo is Tokyo's. It is like original 1982, never touched. It has no water feature. It has no gears on it. It's just really, really bland. And then, as I mentioned to you before we started recording, they don't let you take a video on it. They're like terrified you'll drop your phone. I'm sure it happened exactly one time in Japan.
Well, it's not like it's going to land in the water. There is no water.
There is no water. It's just going to hit concrete. Yeah. But no, so theirs was like the weak one. The view was nice. But obviously, like Tokyo Disneyland's Fantasyland is just this weird mix of like your memory of Magic Kingdom's Fantasyland before they made New Fantasyland, because it is so cut from the same cloth. I mean,
so nostalgia-wise, it's cool.
Nostalgia-wise, it's cool. I love Tokyo Disneyland's Tomorrowland because it is totally the Tomorrowland I grew up with at Magic Kingdom, unchanged for the most part, except, we've got a Baymax ride and a Monsters ride, and we rode their Space Mountain because they're about to gut it and completely redo theirs. So, but yeah, it was, of the Dumbos, I mean, I think I'm going to go with Disneyland's. It's nice that you've got Storybook Circus right there. I'm sorry, not Storybook Circus. Storybook
Disney World
Canal boat rides.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Disney World's, because Disney World also moved their Dumbo to Storybook Circus. You've got the benefit of the dueling Dumbos going in opposite directions, which is cool. But I don't know. I like Dumbo being in the Fantasyland courtyard. Like I like getting to see the castle kind of right there as you go around. And I like that the kind of kinetic motion of that area of Fantasyland, especially when you have the trifecta of spinny rides of Carousel, Dumbo, and Teacups. I think Disneyland does that really well. So I think I like the view from Disneyland's best if I'm picking a Dumbo.
Yeah, I've never ridden Dumbo in any park, so I can't really say. But for me,
I will say it goes up, it goes down, and it goes around.
Yeah.
And
I think the Disney World one would be really cool because you can go one way or you can go the other way depending which one you take. Plus, the queue is super cool in Disney World as well, with the kids playing and you got that restaurant beeper.
Yeah, it is a beautiful immersive Dumbo area. I mean, that whole land is cool. I love that Casey Jr. little splash park they built. But yeah, the other thing I will say of the Dumbo type rides, like if I'm really going to choose one, I actually prefer the magic carpets of Aladdin, because not only does it go up and down and spin around, but you can tilt forward and back, and then you've got the spinning camels. So if I'm going to recommend somebody, burn 15-ish minutes in a queue for a ride like that, I'm going to recommend the carpets.
Yeah, fair enough. Favorite attraction in the world? You know I was going to ask this.
That's unfair. I can go like favorite attraction at each park, but I don't know that I can pick one.
In the world.
In the world. I'm a Peter Pan.
Not Walt Disney World.
Okay, I'm a Peter Pan fan. I'm a Peter Pan's flight fan. The best Peter Pan flights is Shanghai.
Okay, how come?
It's newer. It just better effects. Their Nana is like on the leash, floating, like waving at you. She's not just like sitting next to her dog bowl barking. So like little magic moments like that. I love Shanghai's Peter Pan's flight. But that's by no means going to be popular opinion. Obviously, Shanghai.
I don't care about the other people. It's your show. You're the guest.
Sure. Yeah. I think that'll be my pick. Is I love Peter Pan's flight in general, and Shanghai has the best. So that one jumps out at me.
How was Shanghai, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Paris as far as language goes for you?
Hong Kong was spectacular. Hong Kong, no issue at all. Shanghai was pretty good, but you would encounter people who like either didn't quite understand or had a hard time. Thankfully, in a food situation, which is when it really comes up, you can point, and in a how many in your party situation, you can hold up your fingers. That's a universal language of, and like what they're asking when you get up to the loading area. You've watched them send other people places, and they'll hold up their fingers for the number 2 if they don't know what it is in English. So you can get by very easily. Tokyo is a little bit tougher. I think they're just nervous to speak English incorrectly. Like they're very self-conscious about it. So in Tokyo, it really helps if you embrace them with the greeting depending on the time of the day. Thankfully, as we were flying there, our adventures guide, they taught us Ohio in the morning, Konnichiwa in the afternoon. What was it in the afternoon? Or evening. I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank now. But like same thing in Paris. If you go in and don't start with like bonjour and parlez-vous anglais, odds are they're going to kind of like, it's just a cultural thing. They're just not going to give you the English they know, even though they might have that tool. But you would also encounter people in Paris who like really cast members, who really didn't have strong English skills. And again, it was always in a capacity of like, I can point or I can hold up my fingers. I think where people had bigger challenges is people who had like limited dietary restrictions, whether that's gluten-free or being vegan. In a lot of those other countries, like making a modification to the dish as is kind of not done. And so that was tough, I think, for those folks on.
Yeah, and then for a lot of the times, you guys did a lot of buffets. I found, I felt. What was really cool. What was really cool was when there was no meal planned. A couple of times they gave you guys gift cards to spend on what you want for meals or souvenirs or what have you.
I was going to say, oftentimes like at Disneyland, it was a Disney gift card. We're all familiar with how that works. So you could use it at any Disney purchase of service system, whether that's food or merchandise. In other countries, it was vouchers. At Tokyo, this was my favorite. It was Disney dollars, Disney yen. They still have those. Those were like, did I keep one? No, I don't think I did. I should have.
Okay.
Maybe my husband did. I'll have to check because we would pool our vouchers and stuff together. But yeah, you could use it on merchandise. So like I'd be in the Duffy store at McDuck's and like hold out my like money bag of Disney dollars, Disney yen. And yeah, what was funny was in Paris, the vouchers that they gave us, we were told they're only good for food. And what we found was like cast members did not know how to use them. These are not commonly distributed. So like everywhere we used it, they'd be like, I need a manager. But it turned out they could be used for merchandise too. So and it was hard to use, like it was the equivalent of like $100. It's hard to spend that much on quick service food on a, per person. So yeah, we all walked away with some trinkets.
Well, of course.
As a result.
Of course. We're running out of time here, but Shanghai, I know that you guys had some issues with customs taking batteries, confiscating battery packs and stuff like that. Did you need visas for Shanghai? Because there is a law where if you're not going back to the same country you came from, you don't need a visa, and you're staying a certain amount of time only, staying in the same city.
I don't think we needed a visa for Shanghai. I think the only visa that was technically needed was India, which we had to, like, they sent us the paperwork, but we had to fill it out and submit it and get cleared in advance. But then there was a person on the trip who basically handled all passports, all customs, all of that. So unless it was a situation where like you're going through immigration and you need to hold your passport yourself, she basically kept them all. And in some cases, it was like she got off the plane before us, had everything pre-done. And so it was kind of, to just speed it up where we could just walk off. Sometimes we wouldn't even enter a terminal. We just get on a bus, like walk downstairs from the plane, get on a bus and go somewhere else. So, they really, again, that's like, if you were doing this on your own, you're not going to get that. So I consider that as being baked into that price. But yeah, India was the one. And then India also, we had a physician on the trip. And so he strongly recommended that everyone get on Malarone, which is an anti-malaria medication. It's a preventative type of thing. So you start taking it. We started taking it in Shanghai, and then we stopped taking it in Orlando. Like that was when we ran out of it. But if anybody wanted that, he would take care of that prescription for you. So that was while we were at Disneyland. So by the time we left Disneyland, all our backpacks were jingling with Malarone in preparation for that. If you wanted it, it wasn't required, but it was totally optional.
What I thought was interesting how the doctor on board said, don't drink the water in Shanghai. You not even brushing your teeth. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. That was basically everywhere beyond Tokyo until Paris. Like Paris was the next time that he was recommending, when you're brushing your teeth, you can rinse with the tap water. And at all of those places too, I think Adventures by Disney probably took care of this, but there was a bottled water at the sink for that purpose, like specifically for toothbrushing. The doctor who's done these National Geographic trips before was amazed that more people didn't come down with the runs as a nicer way of saying it in these places, because that's typically the effect of drinking that tap water there. And so he said he had packed enough like fiber supplements for everybody for every day. And by the end of the trip, he had only distributed 10 pills. So he was like really amazed by that milestone.
That's good. Good news.
Yeah.
Favorite park in the world, and please don't say Frontier City, Seven Flags, and Oklahoma.
Okay, then Six Flags Great America in Gurnee, Illinois. No. It was Epcot before this trip. It's still Epcot for me. Like you, I think you mentioned you're not much into rides, but Epcot is a park where I don't have to ride anything to get the most out of my day there. I love just walking around World Showcase. I love all the music. I love all the culture. I hate it during a weekend on Food and Wine, but other than that, it's my favorite place in the world. And then I think second to that, it lives up to the hype. Tokyo Disney Sea is a breathtakingly beautiful park, and that's another one. Even if you're not riding anything, just strolling through that park, it's so well detailed. The theming is so specific everywhere you go. The food is incredible. So that would be my number two. I know for a lot of people who've done the international parks, that's their number one. But I'm still going to be an Epcot guy.
Yeah, almost everyone I talk to have been to every park. They always say Tokyo Disney Sea, so that's kind of surprising for sure.
Yeah, it's I rank it number two, but Epcot's special to me for many reasons. But not least of which, I mean, we all have our Disney gateway drug stories. My earliest memory is meeting Figment with Dreamfinder and being very afraid and very confused and getting a peck on the cheek, and we've got photos of that, and like I have the full like sensory memory that goes with it. It's not just like I've seen the photo and I can piece together what it was like. Like, no, I remember like how his nose felt when he like touched your cheek.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, like my earliest memory, like going back in time, starts at Epcot. So it's a really special place in my heart. It's also where I got married. So there's just too much Epcot love for me to I think place anywhere above it. So I'm biased, is what I'm saying.
Oh, that's fine. So you stayed at the Grand Californian in California, the Summit Ranch, the Tokyo Disney Hotel, the Shanghai Disney Hotel, the Hong Kong Disney Hotel. I can't pronounce this. The Orbi in Agora.
Oberoi. The Oberoi.
I'm assuming that's a beautiful resort. So far, everyone else I've been
gorgeous.
The Marriott, the Marriott in Carl, the Disney Hotel, New York City in Paris, and Pop Century in Disney World. Oh, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right.
We got the 70s.
Hang on, that's not right. The Disney Grand Floridian.
Nothing against Pop Century, by the way. I've stayed at all I've stayed at least a night in every Disney World resort because I was a former cast member and used to get, phenomenal room rates. And that was, again, one of those things like I'd always wanted to do. So I just did it over time, slow burn. But yeah. So those are the hotels.
So I'm assuming Skywalker Summit was probably the highlight.
Yeah.
As far as hotel stay.
It's my favorite bed I've ever slept in, ever in my life. Like, I don't know what it was. I want them to tell me. I probably can't afford it, but it was incredible. It was like sleeping on a cloud. And then we went from that to like a futon style Japanese bed, twin bed at the Tokyo Disneyland Hotel. So that was like a big change. I'm assuming this was going towards like which was your favorite hotel?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think I do love the Hotel New York Art of Marvel at Disneyland Paris. I'd stayed there a couple times, and it's just really well done. Kind of like Yacht and Beach Club. They have a very specific fragrance. Like Yacht and Beach, fan people make like candles in that scent. It's got a very specific fragrance that's really wonderful. They sell you the candle if you want to take it home. And also the artwork all around that is really cool. And having been there a couple times now, they do have a rotating gallery of Marvel art that's been different like annually. So it's always neat to see that. Like there's always something new there. But of the other hotels, I think I really liked Shanghai's. Shanghai's was really cool. It kind of makes sense because it's newer and, they've gotten to learn from a lot of the mistakes of the others. I thought Shanghai's was really special.
I'm assuming next year's trip, they'll be staying at the Disneyland Paris Hotel, which is currently being renovated.
They will. Yeah. So I think that was the goal. And like people on our trip were like complaining a little bit that we were at Art of New York or Hotel.
Oh, wow. It's brand new. It's not brand new.
It is.
Recently
it's recently refurbished. I thought it was beautiful. I think their issue was like, even though it wasn't open, like Disneyland, the Disneyland Paris Hotel was obviously under construction. Like you would not want to stay there. But they were like, oh, but that one's like practically in the park. We wouldn't have to walk. It was, it was one of those weird things. I mean, I will say like some of the people on the trip also Hong Kong Disneyland's hotel was like across like a small lake. I think it would be the walking distance equivalent of like Boardwalk to Hollywood Studios, which I don't think is that huge of a walk. Like I do it. I'll do that over getting in a friendship boat just because it's going to save you a lot of time. But they were offering shuttle service over to the parks. And some people were like, I wish we could be closer. And I'm like, you can't physically be closer. You're as close as you can be to the main gate. So yeah, there was
that haunted mansion building looks nice. I could stay in there.
Right. Yeah. I'll just stay in Phantom Manor. Give me the tower suite. That'll be fine.
We didn't get a chance to talk too much about Egypt or Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal that what you wrote on the blog, people check it out. You can see all those photos and everything at thelaughingplace.com. The Taj Mahal looked way more impressive after reading your stories than I've ever felt before.
Yeah, I felt that way too. I didn't know much about it. I didn't know it was a tomb. I didn't know the story behind it. I thought it was beautiful. It's, a really sad love story essentially. And everything I knew about it was what I know from Soaring Around the World. Another surprise, it really does smell like that from the scent they pump in. Is
the roof bent crooked like it is on Soaring Around the World?
Yeah. The Taj Mahal building bends to the right. The Eiffel Tower bends to the right. The pyramid bends to the right. It's all true. Yeah,
it's all true.
It's all true. All of it.
Egypt looked incredible too.
Egypt was incredible. Egypt was a little scary. We had a police escort. I can't remember if I wrote that, but like our buses had a police escort. We had been told that there was some collusion between bus drivers and robbers where like the bus driver would pull over and be like, oh no, we're having engine trouble. Oh no, we're being robbed. Everyone do what they say. So we had a police escort everywhere we went, whether it was the museum or the pyramids or the Sphinx, which was odd. I fell in love with the wild dogs around the pyramids. I'm a parent of 2, and I was really missing my dogs. And so having all these wild dogs around, there was a litter of puppies. That was really cool. When we went into the Great Pyramid, there was one like hiding in the shade at like the tunnel entrance, which was neat. And it was really, I've always loved those like National Geographic archaeology shows, Indiana Jones. So you very much felt like you were stepping into, an Indiana Jones adventure, crawling up into the pyramid, even though it's really just an empty shell that, they were constructed before the practice of like grand hieroglyphs inside a tomb were common. So there's really nothing nothing to see other than you're just in it. And oddly,
Okay.
it's hotter inside than it is outside, and it was hotter
Oh my
than hot
gosh.
outside. So like that defied my expectations. I was like, it's indoors. It's like being in a cave. It should be cool in there.
Well, there's
Nope.
no air conditioning. There's no central air.
Yeah, surprisingly, the ancient pharaohs didn't think to put in air
What about
cooling.
lighting? Is there like, you have flashlights, or do they have like lanterns, or is there?
That was weird.
electrical
It was
lights?
like, you kind of feel bad that like they had to destroy some things to install, like there's rope lighting, and then it's like they drilled in hooks. So there's like electrical lighting in there essentially.
Okay.
When you got up into the tomb rooms, it was like one of those painter's lights, like on a tripod, just kind of like flooding the corner with light.
Mhm.
But yeah, you were kind of like, oh, you've kind of defiled it a little bit to make it a tourist attraction.
How
which is a little
big?
sad.
So I guess people, we didn't really explain. You got to go into the robbers tunnel.
Yeah.
In one of the pyramids. We kind of didn't really explain that. How big was the room that you eventually get into? Is it like a bedroom size, or like a small closet?
Pretty much. Yeah, we got to go to 2 rooms. The highest most room, which was where the pharaohs would have been buried, one pharaoh, and there was like the stone remnants of where his sarcophagus would have been inlaid, but like obviously everything's been taken out. If you want to see it, you got to go to a museum. And then we also were able to go to the queen's chamber, which would have been the burial place for all of his wives, and they were basically just not cement, but stone, sandstone cutout rooms.
Okay.
And the pathways to get to them, they were uphill at an angle. They've added railings and little like slats for your feet to like latch onto, but it was not intended for people to go back in there ever. And so they weren't thinking about like letting people in. And then there were moments where you have to like, some people were crawling on their hands and knees. I was like doing my best drag queen duck walk to get in there. And it was an uncomfortable experience. It was a claustrophobic experience. A couple people did back out, like they thought they could do it, got like part of the way up, and they were like, nope, I gotta go. Like
I was going to say, it doesn't sound like it's for everybody to do.
It is not, and it was optional. Not everyone had to go do it.
Yeah.
And people who chose not to, we had Egyptologists kind of there as guests. And so for anybody who didn't go in, they would like kind of take you on like a full circle walk around the Great Pyramid. So they got to see a part of the pyramids that if you went in, you didn't get to see, for the sake of time. So, and to be respectful of their time, because they didn't want to go in for a litany of reasons. I will say too, the average age of people on the trip was retirees. So like 65 to 75. So sometimes it was a mobility type of thing. And so like, we were among the younger couples on the trip. And then there were a handful of families with kids. The minimum age was 12. The youngest person on our trip was 14. But I would say, like, recommending it to other people who are interested, I would say 16 and up is probably the right age, because it is more, even though it's Disney parks, it's a lot more adult focused.
Yeah, there's a lot of behind the scenes type of stuff and whatnot.
Exactly.
Is there anything on this trip that you would like Disney to change or would be different? Did you have enough time in the parks? Did you feel rushed?
We felt rushed. Yeah, it was not enough time at all the parks. I mean, Disney World, it was interesting. Obviously, it's easier to get back there, but like Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, if you've ever heard Disney deny that they're half-day parks, ABD made them half-day parks. So just know that an official entity governed by Disney Parks and Resorts in an itinerary said, no, we only need a half-day at each of these. Other places, I mean, it would have been impossible to do it all. That being said, having gone to Tokyo Disneyland once before, having basically a magic pass to skip the line for everything, whether it had a premier access lane or not, was invaluable. Like, we rode the Beauty and the Beast attraction 3 times, because when are we ever going to get to do that again? That was a 2+ hour standby wait, and the premier access passes were gone really early. It was like the early days of Rise of the Resistance. So it was a tough to get one, and so we were like, well, we're going to do it as much as we can, just to get that our system.
So would you like to have seen less times in the U.S. parks and maybe more times in the international parks? I mean, that's great for you, but if you're somebody coming from Paris or from Tokyo, you might not want that.
Exactly. Yeah, no, definitely take that into consideration. I know you're from Canada. We had a couple of families from Canada. We didn't have anybody from elsewhere in the world, but when I did my Adventures by Disney trip in Japan, we had a family from Australia, a couple from the UK. So you're totally right in that like Disneyland Paris might not be the unique spot for some people, whereas, Disneyland and Disney World might have been bucket list places to visit. Yeah, I don't know what the right balance is. I think they kind of expected if you're doing this trip, you've maybe been to a lot of these international places before. Obviously, doing everything everywhere isn't necessarily necessary. An example is like Pinocchio's Daring Journey. That is a carbon copy everywhere. If you do it at Disneyland, you've done it at Tokyo, you've done it at Paris. There's no variations, no effects difference. I even took video on a couple of them and watched side by side, and I was like, yep, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, I know which one I'm in.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So some things are not necessary to do everywhere. Other things, like I mentioned, I'm a Peter Pan's Flight fan. There's a variation to Peter Pan's Flight everywhere. It's not exactly the same, path of scenes, but what you see is different. So like Paris, you won't want to go to Paris without doing Phantom Manor. You won't want to miss out on their Big Thunder Mountain because that's pretty different and special. Their Space Mountain as well. There's like certain things that are must do at Paris. Star Tours, you probably don't need to do Star Tours everywhere. And in fact, we did Star Tours multiple times and kept getting the same itinerary. I think it's just locked like on a fixed one right now. Seems to always be Hoth and Naboo, and you always get Darth Vader and Princess Leia.
Actually, I heard that from somebody else too that went recently to Paris. They went 5 times and they got like, I think it was 4 times the same thing.
Yep. And that was another thing at Epcot on our last day. Guardians, people were trying to go back around and get all the songs. We did it twice and got the same song both times. And you can experience the same thing at California Adventure. So it's one of those things, like I've been on Guardians at Epcot enough where I've gotten all of the songs on different trips. So it wasn't like prescient for me, but some people were like, I'm not coming back here anytime soon. I want to try and get them all.
Yeah, for sure.
Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. Once you're in the cart, it's the same in Paris as it is here. But like Snow White, the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, there are a few slight differences between the one at Shanghai and the one at Magic Kingdom, and the final scene is different. Here you have the house, there you have like a tree stump that Dopey pops out of, which is smaller in scope, but still one of those nice little things where like I've done it before here, I'm doing it here now. Oh, nice! There's something different for me to see.
So would you like for them to maybe you don't do Egypt, maybe you don't do Taj Mahal, and have more days at the park, or maybe you add Stonehenge and have less park days?
Yeah, I mean, my thought on where you go in between, because it was nice and refreshing to have a break from the parks, which I never thought I would say, but like after so many in a row, you do kind of need a little bit of a cleanser. My thought was, and I don't know logistically, because part of the reason, maybe, but part of the reason for that stop is to refuel. And I'm gonna guess there's some like customs reasons why if you stop to refuel, you have to like get out and maybe be there a night or something. So, but my thought was, being that it's Disney parks around the world, I think a bucket list place for me to visit, and I'm assuming many Disneyland fans, is Neuschwanstein in Germany. And I found Egypt to be it felt a little hostile at times. Like it didn't feel like maybe we were wrapped up in the safety and comfort that you expect from Disney. It was more in line with what probably National Geographic expeditions would be taking you through. And I know ABD has run Egypt itineraries in the past, and they've had to cancel those in the past due to geopolitical reasons. So to me, like,
Alani's beautiful. That's a nice
Alani
spot.
Alani is also beautiful. I would vote Alani. But yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, why not Neuschwanstein? Get us closer to Paris. Give us like 48 hours in Germany, a tour of Neuschwanstein Castle, the castle that inspired Sleeping Beauty Castle, the castle upon which all other Disney park castles have kind of evolved from that mold. I thought that would be a meaningful visit that's away from the parks, that ties it into the parks, that also could give us like a rest retreat. Because Agra, I think, was meant to be that, but when you're getting up before the sun to do sunrise at the Taj Mahal, you're not getting, this is one of the things I'll say, never did we ever have 6 hours of turnaround, more than 6 hours of turnaround time between end of day activities and time to get up and get ready for morning activities. So it was not restful at all.
No idea how you guys, like, I'm reading your blog and it's, well, we had a 4 a.m. wake up. We had a 5 o'clock wake up. I think the earliest was 7. Skywalker
latest,
Ranch, you slept in a bit.
I slept through
How
everything
does
that
people
morning.
do that? And you're watching the nighttime spectacular at night.
What I really don't understand, and I kept saying this to them, was the guides. Like, how are you doing? Like, you're smiling, you're happy, you're not visibly frustrated. I would be in all those cases.
Like you're injecting coffee into your veins, I think. At that point.
And this is also fun. Like, I almost cried when I got my first Starbucks since the trip began in Paris, because they're just not everywhere. And then the other thing that frustrated me was, I didn't know this, but if you get a Starbucks at the Disney Village, which is their downtown Disney at Paris, you cannot take a coffee into a shop. Like, that's not allowed there. So I tried to walk into World of Disney with my Frappuccino that I had just purchased and was denied access until I finished it. And I was like, what? So, but like when I took a sip of it, it was, again, just one of those comfort things. I was like, oh, I missed you. And a lot of these places, coffee is not the main caffeine source. It's tea, which is fine. But like, I'm a 2-cup of coffee before I like start working kind of person. So yes, there you go. So yeah, I was having some withdrawals with that. And everywhere we'd go in a lot of places, if you say coffee, what they think you mean is an espresso. So you get like a little shot. And so you have to say Americano at a lot of these places.
Yeah. Well, even Paris is really like that.
Yep. Yeah. Which is just a watered down espresso. Like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
I want you to put grounds in the top, let hot water run through that into a pot, pour me a cup. Like,
having said that, Disneyland Paris had the best coffee I ever had at any park.
Oh, really?
Americano
Where was that?
Coffee. I just fell in love with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need your recommendation for the next time I go, because I cover Annecy Animation Film Festival, which is on the Swiss side of France. And when I go, since when in France, I will either take the train or fly into Paris and go to Disneyland Paris. So it's becoming like an annual stop for me at this point.
Oh, nice. What's next for you? Your Pop Century stay you didn't get on this trip? The moon?
Hey,
is that where you're going next?
I don't think I'm going to be taking Elon Musk on any space flight adventures anytime soon. I'll stick to Mission Space, the green side. Thank you very much. But we're doing one of our dogs is having surgery, so I'm going to be home for most of August, which is refreshing and unique. We are going to be on the Disney Vacation Club Wish Cruise that's coming up in, I think, September.
Okay.
I'm excited for that. It's going to be my second time doing a Disney Vacation Club cruise, which I don't know if you've ever done one or heard about them.
I never even heard about Disney Vacation Club cruise.
It is not a restful cruise, but on a Disney Vacation Club cruise, they're basically lots of special guests speaking, and so it'll be Disney authors, archivists, talent. I think on this one we've got Brett Iwan, who's the current voice of Mickey Mouse, and Bill Farmer, who's been the voice of Goofy since the 80s. Will both be on board, and kind of like an Adventures by Disney trip, they're on the cruise with you. So, if you go to the silent DJ party, odds are the voice of Mickey Mouse is going to be bebopping next to you. So those are
the entire
really cool.
Wish people that are on the ABD trip.
You mean a DVC cruise? Yeah, so it'll be like that.
Oh,
trip.
DVC. I think you said. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm thinking Adventures by Disney Cruise.
Oh yeah.
How is that even physically possible? Okay.
It's a Disney Vacation Club.
DVC cruise. Yes.
But I know Adventures by Disney does do itineraries that include a Disney cruise element, and that it's not the whole cruise is Adventures by Disney. It's
I was going to say, how is that? Yeah.
No, this will be an entire Wish cruise of Disney Vacation Club members. Who are getting all of these extras thrown their way. I'm also going to be at Destination D23, which I think is either also in September or October. They've thrown me for a loop because those were always in November, and they're doing it earlier this year. And when I go for that, I'll be going to a Halloween party at Magic Kingdom, which will be my first time doing that since before the pandemic. So I'm really excited because I love the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. It's a lot less stressful, in my opinion, than Oogie Boogie Bash out here. I live in the Bay Area in California. So yeah, I love the Disney World Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween
Are
Parties.
you going to get the Star Cruiser in before it closes?
I'm not going to get to go before it closes, but I did get to go fairly early on. One of our team members did a media preview, and then my husband and I, we booked it. We didn't want to be on like one of the first voyages because we were kind of going into it as more like, I just want to see it and experience it. I don't want to be a character and dress up, which I kind of regret not doing because I got really into it, which surprised me about it. But we had the misfortune of being on like the 4th or 5th cruise, and what that ultimately entailed was no merchandise was available. Everything that said Galactic Star Cruiser or Halcyon was sold out. They had kind of overpromised, like, hey, when we get it back in, it's going to be on Shop Disney, and you'll get a message that lets you know, like, it's your exclusive time to shop, so you will be able to get your thing. That never happened. Never, ever happened.
You know what? Just go to the character warehouse when you're there in October, and you'll be able to get it all then.
Yeah. Or I have a lot of cast member friends who can, take me over to, I'm drawing a blank on the name, but the cast member only store that gets stuff before Character Warehouse, before it if you Character Warehouse is like what the cast members didn't want at Super Team.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm sure I can get something someday. I do have a magnet from it. That was the only merchandise purchase I got on board. But when they said they were closing and that they're having money problems, I was like, sell me the merchandise you wouldn't sell me before. Like, I will easily give you like $100 to $200 right now if you will let me shop. I felt like Julia Roberts. I was like, just let me shop.
This was so much fun. I'm so glad you took the time out to do this with us. Absolutely unbelievable.
I'm so glad you reached out and put this together. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah. Check out laughingplace.com and search Alex Reif, and you'll be able to read all his adventures. And we only touched the tip of the iceberg here compared to what you had written. Well written.
Just the bent tip of the pyramid of Giza.
Yes. We didn't even talk about the monkeys in Egypt even.
Don't look at the monkeys. They will rip your lips off.
And with that, Ken, take it away.
If you have a brilliant idea for a future edition of The Solo Show and would like to take your turn in the guest host's chair, then drop us an email at thesoloshow01@gmail.com. Tell us your idea for the show, and we'll contact you about a date and a time for you to join us. If you would just like to keep the conversation going or have a comment about a previous show, then visit us on Facebook at The Solo Show. All logos, sounds, and songs that are made by and for Disney and its affiliates are owned solely by the Disney Corporation and are not, nor are they intended to be, the ownership of The Solo Show podcast. We hope you'll join us for the next adventure on The Solo Show. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.